any suggested ideas.
Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. And if it's Tuesday, that means we're always live. This is show 150 live shows in a row. Let me repeat that, 150 live shows in a row. So we're going to see if we can go for another 25 first and then another 25 and get to 200 live shows in a row. But the thing about that, why it makes it important, because I knew it was going to hit on this show. I knew Irene was going to be on it, and I had an idea that John was going to be on it, even though he didn't know, but I did know, and I wanted to make it about singers. So obviously this is important because they're both award winners, which is even more important. So streaming live on Talk 4 TV, Talk 4 Media, K4HD Radio, and streaming on over 100 outlets around the world right now. And obviously WomanOnTV.tv, iTube 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee. And I'm really happy about it because I wanted to do something about music, because who does not listen to music? Howard loves to dance to music. So doesn't Terry. You know, when I'm at Rachel's house, it's all about Johnny Falstaff and sucking the blood. It's always about that country twang, that new type of music, you know, from Chicago house music, right, Irene? And It's all about things like that. So they're both award winners. They both won. You know, I like their music. The problem is we can't play music anymore on podcasts because we get dinged, and that sucks. So, you know, when you've got the song of the year and your, you know, best country music of the year, and you know, you've Irene, I'm just amazed at all the stuff that you've done. My hat goes off to you, whether it's in the equestrian world. I'm going off the top of my head because it's been a while since I've seen everything. I come from the world of dressage, so I know all about that world. You know, our Dutch warm blood Bellagio was an award-winning horse for us. When it comes to these things, I love your background, all the things that you've done, and I thought it was important to have you on because Eileen said so, Jimmy Starr said so, but I said, of course, we would love to have her on, because when you've done all those things, you know, you had that best song of the year, you know, if you won at the Josie Awards, which Howard knows of in Tennessee, those aren't small feats. Those are great. You know, and John has done the same thing. He's won at the Josie Awards. He's won at the Western Country Music Awards in on West Coast, which is even more important. I'm going to have you both talk about your songs, but first, I got to introduce everybody because there's weird weather going around. Canada's having tornadoes. You can imagine out in Toronto. My friends in Portugal and in South America, they're having outages. You know, you saw what we did. We started 10 minutes late. We always start on time, so you just never know. Howard, let's check your sound because we don't know. Howard, we never know if Howard's going to have internet or anything like that. Howard, tell him who you are. Go ahead.
I'm Howard Wiggins. I'm one of the world's top 35 interior designers. I'm son of Little Roy Wiggins, played steel guitar with Eddie Arnold. I do acting and movies and voiceovers and dancing and modeling. And I'm almost 72, and I just live my life the best I can.
And Rachel Roberts. So, Rachel, you know, we've all been through these things. We never know about our technology, but we make it work some kind of way, don't we?
Just barely.
Talk about who you are, what you've been doing. You've been doing a lot of content lately.
Yes, I've been shooting. Okay, so I have a little morning show. My name's Rachel Roberts, and I have a little morning show called Coffee Talk. And I just get on and talk about bullshit every day, and it's on social media platforms. I also am an actress. I'm going to be in a movie at the end of the month. So I'm excited about that. I do modeling as well, and product promotions and commercials and all sorts of fun stuff. And I've been with Brian for years, and you know, all of us are very loyal to Brian. He's a great guy. So thank you, Brian, for having me on Movie Reviews and More. It's a lot of fun.
You're most welcome. We couldn't have done it without you. So Terry, all right. So let's talk about you really quickly before we get into everybody. Go ahead for it, Terry.
I've been with Brian since 2014, so it's been quite a long time. I do red carpet hosting for movie reviews and more, which I love to do. I'm a fitness competitor. I haven't competed in a while, but I'm still a fitness junkie. Like to motivate women over 40 and 50 to stay fit and healthy. I've been an actress all my life since I was a little kid, to tell you the truth. So I've done several projects. I'm here in Los Angeles, California. I also dabble in a little bit of art. They call me nonstop for a reason. I also work in the corporate world in orthopedics with doctors and fitness and athletic trainers. So I have that going on too. So I'm a busy person. You say that.
Cool.
So Irene, when you're that singer-songwriter, that musician, obviously those are great things. And when the LGBT community really loves you for what you're doing, and you're at that, you go to the Get Out Awards, which is really, really important. And I like Wayne. Very interesting song. Very cool song. Howard is our dancer here. I just love listening to music, and now I listen to the lyrics because the lyrics do a lot for me. And when you've had that best song of the year in 2023, the Josie Music Awards, like I was talking about, and you've also branded BroadwayWorld, and also perform in Times Squares for the 40th anniversary of International Peace Day. I believe in world peace. I'm a Buddhist, so it took me 16 years to believe in that. That is important to me. My hat goes up to you, Irene Michaels. And with John, also that recording artist, that singer-songwriter, he's that storyteller too. But when it comes to, having the best male album of the year, / International Singer-Songwriters Association, those things are no small keeps when it comes to that. I Keep Dreaming. I love that song. I never knew I was going to love country music. And all of a sudden, 8 years ago, I started going down to Tennessee and I started falling in love with country music. Now, when you guys have grown up in different eras, I think Howard would know a lot about this, and maybe a little bit of Rachel and Terry. All these songs become classics. There was not a lot of icons left in the world. There is no Michael Jackson. There is no Tom Petty. We're lucky to have, a Willie Nelson still with us. We just lost Sergio Mendes. I think of all these great icons. Some of them we'll talk about tonight. Irene, when it comes to your history, when did you know you wanted to be a singer? Because you've got a vast background. Talk about before you started singing, because I don't think enough people know what you did before.
Well, I've been singing for a very long time, and I've stopped it and I started it, and I stopped it and I started it. So I started singing probably over 35, 40 years ago, believe it or not. And I've always loved music. I've always been in show business of sorts. I started out as a dancer. I was on Broadway shows for several years.
Mm-hmm.
I was Chorus Line, which was my biggest show. And then from dancing, I went into acting, and then I went into modeling, and then I went into singing again. So I've always been in the phase of the business because I just love the business. There's no business like show business.
Absolutely. And as Denzel Washington would say, there's no business without the show.
That's right.
Because, and John, you understand this, without the business, there is no show, right? Talk about how you started, John, because you dabble in a couple different worlds. But I love your history of how you started. It's really fascinating.
Well, everything I do, my main thing is music. Everything else is a hobby other than that. I just knew at a young age this is what I wanted to do, and I started dabbling a little bit. And then as time progressed, I got better and better. I learned the craft. There's a craft in songwriting and performing. And if you learn the craft, you know how to excel after a while. And of course, having a producer like I have, Pepper J. Early this morning, I was watching her, and she's on the computer conversing with people all over the world. And I'm just sitting there drinking coffee. And I'm thinking, I couldn't do this. I do what I do. I sing and I write songs. But she does all the heavy lifting when it comes to the business. And without her, I wouldn't have a career. I think everyone should have they're fortunate to have a producer, manager like that.
I'm always talking about, if you don't have that good publicist, and a lot of them tend to be women, which is great. I was watching a documentary today on libraries, how libraries started. Again, if it weren't for women, we wouldn't really have the libraries of today. So I keep going back and finding a lot of these things. And again, movie reviews and more honors women. This is more. Howard's the only male co-host we've ever had, and guess who found him? A woman. Chef Rachel Roberts found him. So I didn't find him. Rachel did. It's one of those things where, again, if it weren't for you women, we wouldn't be where we are. And so when you have that, Irene, I'm thinking of that song, I Like Rain. Why do I like that song? Talk about that. And were you happy when it won, an award, the Josie Awards in 2023? Because it's not easy.
No, it's a funny story. I was actually at the Josie Awards when they were doing the awards, of course, and I really didn't expect to win. So I was sitting in the audience, being very naughty, and I was looking at my text messages, and all of a sudden I heard my name, Irene Michaels, best song.
Oh my God.
Did they just say my name? And so I was shocked. And so I threw my phone on the floor, and I got up and I walked up to the stage, and I accepted my award, and I was very honored. It's a beautiful song. Most people like that song. For some reason, people really relate to that. It's warm, it's fuzzy, it's cozy, it's homey, it's real, it's heartfelt. For all those reasons, I think people like listening to it.
And, did you know, were you singing when you were on Broadway as one of the girls?
No, I was just dancing at that time.
So were your legs insured too, or what?
Pardon?
Were your legs insured also? I mean, you were one of those dancers.
I was pretty leggy. Yes.
You still are.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? She's modest. Hey, talk about, Chicago house music. I can't remember her name, but it's one of the things where another woman, when you have Chicago house music and then turning it around, she is one of the world's best at that, isn't she?
Yes, it's probably Trax Records.
Absolutely.
Trax is a big label. It's a major house label. And matter of fact, the woman who owns that, her name is Rachel Kane.
Yep.
And she and I are neighbors in the same building. And she came to one of my shows and she said to me, Irene, I think you should be doing house music. And I said, not really. It's really not my style. I like cabaret. I sing porch songs, standards, American songbook. She says, nope, you'd be great at house music with a pop flair to it. I go, okay, I'll try it. I'm always willing to try anything. And so that's when all the songs like I Like Rain was born. And ever since then, I've been on her label, which has been very successful for me.
Cool.
So, John, when you have, I've never been to this, but one of the best award shows that I ever went to, and I encourage people to go to some of these award shows, was the Songwriters ASCAP Awards. The best award show I ever went to. The year I went, Neil Young was there for Hall of Fame, and what was it? Janet Jackson, Jermaine Dupri, Janet Jackson's boyfriend at that point, Jermaine Dupri. And I thought it was fascinating because they were some of the happiest people I've ever seen in my life. You didn't know who they were, Rachel and Terry, but they wrote some of the most iconic songs as ever. And I go, why are you guys so happy in here? And I'll just never forget. Can't remember his name. This guy said, Brian, nobody knows who the hell I am, but they all know my songs, and I get paid for them listening to my songs. And I go, that's it. And then I'm walking out, and I'm looking to the left, and there's Sheryl Crow to the left of me, and I forgot who it was to the right because I had never met Sheryl Crow before. As I was leaving, I'm like, oh, I love this award show. If I ever bring someone to an award show, that's the one to go to. John, talk about what it's like to be that songwriter, because you guys are fascinating to me. As I'm listening, as an old disc jockey that I was, if I'm in Rachel's house and I'm listening to something that I may not know, or if I know Terry is dancing to 80s music, I now listen to the lyrics. As the disc jockey, for me, it was always about the beat. But I think because I've matured more, now I'm listening to the lyrics. It's really fascinating to me.
But I didn't start off as a country artist. even though I used to sing a lot of country songs when I was playing with bands, and rock and roll and show tunes. We used to do a tribute to the Oscars where we do all the top Oscar songs over the years. And I was exposed to all types of music. But it wasn't until we went to Nashville and we added a slide guitar to our songs that I got inducted into the country music genre. And because most of our songs, they're crossover songs, and we're very fortunate that that happened, that we have pop radio. We've played on pop radio and country songs, but I think a lot of it is because we're part of the Nashville community, and we use the Nashville musicians, and there's that flavor of Nashville country music, but also there's pop music in there. We're very fortunate that we have that.
Hey, so Howard, you were talking earlier about, your Facebook friends with John. I think that's fascinating. I actually saw John perform, and he reminds me of, and I'm going to show a trailer later of Artie Shaw. Irene, Johnny, you guys probably remember Artie Shaw, the band leader, and how he started going up against Benny Goodman. I just see similarities with different things coming now. As you get older, you get a chance to go back and see people's history of things. Howard, talk about, your dad helped start the Grand Ole Opry with Eddie Arnold. But you didn't like country music when you were growing up. Where are you now? Because you love to dance.
Well, I'm kind of like Terry. I'm still in the 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at. It's in the 80s.
So Irene, Howard would love to dance to a lot of your music. He is that dancer where he likes to go out and dance for hours, and just women will start getting up and dancing because a lot of guys just don't dance. But Howard does. Even I don't dance. I'm afraid to go up and dance with Howard because he would put me to shame. So I just kind of like watch vicariously, but it's funny. But he would like your stuff. Yeah. And the reason why I like this, and I say this, is because he has those shorts that we put up that gets thousands and thousands of hits of something that I put up to. I got another one I'm going to put up in 2 days. I just was waiting for the rights to see that we didn't get dinged. But he can dance to anything, and almost any song could go to the way he dances. It's really fascinating.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll have to dance together because I love.
Absolutely.
Hey, well, Irene, what do you like about dancing and singing?
It's an expression. I think I let myself go when I dance. So I just feel, everything going on around me, which is alive. And that's what we want to feel, alive. We want to feel something. And for me, dancing is that. Singing makes me happy. It just puts a smile on my face. So the combination of those two are very healthy. So I enjoy it.
Hey, Rachel, I blame you for this one. I think when I was at your house in Texas, I think I started listening to lyrics. You had Siri on, and we were listening to Johnny Falstaff, and it was the lyrics. It was something about the lyrics that you like. I'm like, I want to hear the beat, as the old disc jockey me was about the beat. Now I feel like women, because women fell in love with lyrics, whether it was listening to Frank Sinatra or John Bon Jovi or David, David Lee Roth. It was really interesting. Now I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm actually listening to the lyrics now, going back to a lot of the classics and enjoying what you songwriters wrote. I never did that before. It's really interesting.
Question, Brian, how many times do you go back? Because I do that now. I listen to lyrics more because the beat always got me. But how many times have you gone back and maybe looked on Spotify where the words are actually written down and you've been singing the wrong lyrics for years?
For years. I know. My kids laugh at me because I sing and they're like, you're singing it wrong. And I'm like, well, in our day, we had to look at the back of a record. We did that, right? There was no way. Now you can just pull up the lyrics online so they know all the words. Yeah. How many times, Terry, right?
It's actually funny because I'm like, oh my God, I've been singing that song the wrong that for 20 years.
Yeah, what's that song? Wrapped up like a douche in it.
I was thinking the same one.
Wrapped up like a douche. I was like, that's not right.
Well, Johnny, I think about this. Aerosmith, Dude Looks Like a Lady. I was thinking, I thought it was Do the Funky Lady. Because I didn't. Because that's what it sounded like to me. I didn't know until I ran into.
lady.
No, I ran into Steve Perry, and I'm like, I love that dude, the funky lady. No, what's wrong with you? No, it's dude looks like a lady. I didn't know. I just
so
didn't know.
funny.
Hey,
Yeah.
John, what is writing songs, writing lyrics were important to you? Because I've seen you perform. You're just like stylish. You know. I didn't hear you sing country songs. I just heard you sing. You were fashionable. You were really cool the way you were singing at the Easy Way Oscar event.
Well, I grew up in a time where you could play in clubs and make a living, and every club almost everywhere had entertainment, and you would work 6 weeks here and 6 weeks there. And I actually had a booking agent, and he kept me booked all the time. But that's how you hone your craft. And one day I was always playing with a band or behind a guitar, and then I was playing at a resort outside of Palm Springs. Very much like what you see in Dirty Dancing. It was like a resort like that. And they had a main showroom and they had a little lounge. I played the lounge. And one day Pepper came in. I didn't know Pepper at the time. She said, you're good, but I could make you better. And she taught me how to perform on stage, like Sammy Davis Jr. and all the greats, Sinatra, Wayne Newton. Really had pizzazz when they're performing on stage. There's a certain finesse, how to move and how to dance when you're performing without an instrument. And that took me to a higher level. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity to learn that craft. But when I grew up, you got paid to sing in all these clubs, and you could sustain yourself and keep going. Unfortunately, they don't have that today. A lot of clubs don't pay very well. But back then they paid well, and you could make a living out of it.
Yeah, that's the bad thing about it. Terry and I were talking about clubs. I don't go to clubs. And even now I'm listening to a lot of the things where, as you would say, you could go in and watch someone. You can't break a group anymore. I think, Gene Simmons said it, and he was correct. There is no more breaking a group. There is no more doing that stuff. You've got to do more things like this to get out. But also you have that younger audience that will go and listen to stuff. We got a thing called, you guys remember the group, the Zombies, the 60s band?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got an interview coming up with the members of the band and how they started. You can't start like that anymore, how these bands started and go out there and go and tour and do all these clubs, because they don't exist, and that's the sad part. And I think that's why I'm a rock and roller. Terry's an 80s chick. I'm that guy that grew up in an all-white town that listened to Styx and Foreigner and Black Sabbath, believe it or not, at the same time as I was listening to Motown and doing all this stuff and putting it together to be a disc jockey, because that's what I wanted to do. So I had to learn all these things. So I thank my white friends and every single day, because had they not taken me on road trips and kidnapped me to take me to my first concert, which was Ted Nugent. I didn't know where I was going. They kidnapped me. They took me to the Harvick Center for Ted Nugent. I'm like, what am I doing here? But it opened me up, because I love Great White Buffalo. I just love certain things, and now I really appreciate songwriters. Irene, when you're writing a song, do you have a way that you write? How do you write?
Well, usually I start humming a melody, and I'll think of the melody, and then I'll start writing some words to the melody, or I'll write the words first, and then I'll think about if I want them to rhyme or not, or I'm thinking of a story that has happened to me, which is the way most songwriters write. They think of something from their past or their history or currently that has happened in their life, which they can explain it, in their lyrics. And that makes a song very powerful, because people feel that reality. If the song is real and the feelings are real, people feel it. And that's what you want from your audience. You want them to feel the emotion that you're feeling. That's usually successful.
Rachel Kane was her name. Rachel she's fascinating, because one of the reasons I stopped being a DJ when I was at Power 106 and I went to the Wave, and this is in 1990, 91, was I didn't like house music. I didn't realize that with there's different types of house music. I was
Right.
listening to England house music, not Chicago house music. And she was there in the forefront. And I was like, what is this? I don't like this. I guess it was like Howard when he was growing up with country and he didn't want to listen to country. He ended up listening to dance. And then after, as you get more mature, you're like, oh, it's not that bad. I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. I just wasn't mature. And then I go again, blaming it on Rachel, listening to lyrics while I was at her house. I'm like, oh, I never thought about that before. So now I have a deeper appreciation for the lyrics, how you guys have your craft when you go out to perform, because our job is to get people to go out and see you perform. It was Rachel who dragged me to go see Johnny Falstaff. I'm like, why do I want to go see this guy? And it was great, you know.
You know what's interesting when you think about Beyonce doing a house album, you know, Beyonce in house, you would never think of Beyonce doing a house album.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with country and western. I think the house music album was bigger than the country and western. I'm not sure, but big. It's remained big since I don't know, 30 years now or so.
Talk about I Am Golden. Talk about that collection. Why is that meaningful?
Well, I Am Golden is really kind of about an older woman who still loves life, has a zest for life, and she's very golden in everything that she does. And that's truly how I feel. I feel very, I'm grateful, I'm blessed. I feel that age really doesn't have anything to do with anything unless you're ill, of course. So yeah, good health is a blessing. And so it's like you're golden when you have all these things around you and you have access to being able to do something in life that you love. That's golden to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, talk about the first time that you performed. Where were you and how old were you?
I think I was probably 7th, 8th grade. And then I got into a band in high school. And we were very fortunate. The bass player's mother had a lot of connections. So I was living in Carson City, Nevada, in Reno. And immediately we started playing all the radio, TV stations up there in Lake Tahoe. And we got a lot of exposure. And I think that's the only time I was ever frightened to be on stage, starting off like that, because we were playing, Civic Center and TV and other things like that. But that's the beginning of learning my craft. And that's, I think, the first time I actually professionally started performing.
I just like your stance. You have like you believe it or not, to me, you remind me of just like Johnny Cash, of his stature, what he does. And I like that. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I get that, frequently, kind of like Johnny Cash. Sometimes people say Glenn Campbell, the songs that I write. The music covers a lot of different genres, because some of my music are like standard blues and are stage that you would hear on a Broadway show, things like that. I never know what's going to come out of me when I sit down and write music. I just start searching, like Irene was talking about. Just start searching, plunking around on the piano or the guitar until something hits you that you like.
When you're writing a song, at what point do you know, like, this is going to be big? Like, do you feel it when you're writing, like there's, the ones that have become hits that?
I'm always surprised what the public likes, because I'll write something and I'll write in a structure because I really feel like you have to know your goal. Where do you want your songs to end up? I write very commercial, so I write in a particular song structure that I know if I write in this structure, I'm going to get radio play. But you never know, and Pepper will like open up the computer and start looking out, seeing where all the songs are, how they're doing. And I was always surprised that we start off maybe the top 100 and then it makes its way down to the top 10. You never know,
Never know.
I'm just so thankful and appreciative that my songs end up that way. But, it takes a lot of people. I write the songs. Pepper looks over the songs. we share that. We go to the studio, we sit with the music director, and we write charts and we give it to the musicians. I mean, there's a lot of people involved. So, by the time I get on stage, I get all the credit, but really there's a lot of people who deserve the credit. All the musicians, Pepper J, the producer, the engineers in the studios. I mean, it takes a lot.
What do you think about, today's youths and how they don't have to go through all of that? Nowadays you get on TikTok, you put out turn on the mic, start singing, and then 24 hours later, these people are famous. So it seems like, you know what I mean? Like you can touch a million people. Like, some of these kids are like overnight making hits where, you guys have, do you feel like there's a lot of lost,
Well, what happens is they can get away with that and they get famous on TikTok, but it really shows when you're given a venue and you have to come out by yourself, either with a band or a guitar, and entertain the people. And that's called paying your dues. If you get out there too soon, you're going to make a fool of yourself sometimes. You have to pay your dues. You have to start off with small venues, make those mistakes, refine your act. And that's the opportunity. Is the more you can refine it, the better you're going to be when you have that big opportunity to be on stage in a major venue. That's not the time you trial and error. That's the time that you really pull out everything you've worked on all these past years. So I think for a lot of people, they don't get the opportunity to pay their dues in their business.
I want to add to that, Rachel, just because this is just a little bit of conspiracy I have about that. I do think that some of those people on TikTok are promoted, because there's a lot of people on TikTok that can sing that still do not get validated and still do not make it. And so a lot of times I think they're put there as a plant. That's just my opinion, because these people just come out of nowhere, and I see, hundreds of people on there that don't get the same, that are even better than some of these people that make it. So I do think that they might have paid their dues somewhere else. They just had some help getting pushed out there, maybe with managers and pushing them, because they do that with social. I know for a fact they do that with influencers. So I'm sure.
Well, it's just a different time, like when we were all growing up, we'd go to concerts, and now, it's about I turn on my computer. I do a lot of promoting on social media sites, and so like they tell me, hey, here's a video. This guy, I don't know how it works. They say if you put the video in the background while you're doing content, and it goes viral, you get paid. So there's people out there that are making people famous through just playing their music, and it's just a different time.
It's just a different way. Yeah, it's just a different. It's just a different promotion. So you're going to be promoted, on venues, live. It's just a different, like Brian was saying, it's a different way of doing things, but I don't think it's really changed. It's just a different way of promoting, because back when I was growing up, we didn't have these avenues. So you had promoters that promoted you. So that's just my opinion.
Well, this is what leads into the next thing. Rachel, when's the last concert that you went to? Music concert?
Oh, Rod Stewart.
How long ago? When?
That was a long time ago. It's like I was in my 20s and now I'm 51. So yeah, it was
Howard, when's the last time?
Always good.
Howard, when's the last concert you went to?
What's ours?
Howard?
Who?
You? When's the last concert you went to?
Me?
Uh-huh.
I went 3 Dog Night when I was in college. I've never been a big concert person.
And I'm getting to a point. Terry, what's the last concert you went
I'm going to spend my money on antiques and art.
The last concert I went to was the Foo Fighters in 2023.
Okay, so Irene and John, I was a ticket scalper. So my job when I grew up to put myself through college, I was the blacks guy scalping rock bands and anything to the Hartford Civic Center, to the East Coast of things when everybody was touring. I got a chance to do that. And so till this day, I didn't get a chance to see the Who, even though I had 2 tickets. I was busy scalping them to people, $75, $150. And the reason I asked that, because now that I've caught up and I'm interviewing these people, every person who's in the music business says the same thing. Our job is to help support you guys because most people aren't going to concerts anymore. It's a hard time to see it. And before we go to this trailer real quick, Irene, when's the last concert you went to? Because you guys both know this is your livelihood, right?
Right. Well, I was last year to the Rolling Stones in Chicago.
How cool.
Yep.
What was that like for you?
Oh, it's fantastic. They are the best rock and roll band, I think.
Ever. Yeah, absolutely. How cool.
I mean, if you stripped everything from them, all the fanfare, they know best rock and roll.
Awesome.
Hey, John, and after we show this clip, I'm going to come to you and ask you the same thing. All right, let's take a look at this, and I'll tell you why, because it goes into how bands started.
Right now, I'd like to meet some people. You probably know them better as the Zombies.
I've never worked out if the Zombies are lucky or unlucky because we were around at the right time. Some groups of people just click.
It was luck, really. We met these 5 people and we got on.
Someone recognised me. Totally different. You look totally different too.
Thanks. We wanted to be a little bit more adventurous, do something exciting and different. We just kept feeding off each other creatively. It sounded really quite special.
One of our favorite songs ever.
After the recording of this album, the Zombies broke up.
It was really unfortunate what happened to us.
Someone was making fortune. It certainly wasn't us.
It's a legacy left behind, and it's a legacy that will go on.
Now, John, the reason why I want to show that because I'm going to talk to the Zombies. None of them played musical instruments. They just put themselves together like you used to do in the old days. So like how John Bon Jovi started, which is interesting. If you ever seen his story. And it's one of those things, people don't do that these days. They just, and I think that may be one of the things you were talking about. And it's really sad because where can you go see people perform? We're supposed to be out there helping support the arts, right, John?
Yeah, that's true. And here outside of Vegas, where I live, we have a lot of tribute bands. You're talking about the last band I've seen. I went to go see Michael Jackson, and even though they're not the original, they perform very well. Their performances are excellent. Tribute bands, all kinds that I've had an opportunity to see, and all of them are top notch. That's really professionalism.
Irene, or when it comes to you're more of a single performer, but still, it's a lot of work of what you go into writing these songs. And I know what Rachel works on, Rachel Kane, because she's great with what she does. Starting out of Chicago, putting all this stuff together in the early '80s, man. And I'm gonna get her on the show because we like her, she likes us. What she's put together at Trax Records is just fabulous.
I know, and she's a great little performer too. Yeah. And when I was listening to what John was saying about impersonators per se, to the main stars like Michael Jackson, there's a show out in Las Vegas called The Legends.
Yeah,
and they have Cher and Elvis and all of them, Adele, and those people are fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, Rebel, you were gonna say something, Rebel?
No, not me.
Okay, and we'll show the next clip. John, when you were growing up, who were your influences? Because I was always been curious about this because of how you perform and what you write and sing.
Well, very young. I was very fortunate. Sammy Davis Jr. was performing at Harrah's at Lake Tahoe. And a girlfriend of mine was the stage manager, and she asked if I would like to go see Sammy Davis Jr. And I said, absolutely. And I got to go backstage and stand in the wings and watch Sammy Davis Jr., the most incredible performer anywhere. But to see him live is different than you'd watch him on TV. There's a big difference, and that's with any performer. You can see them live, but when you see them in person, there's a whole different energy. And he was one of my first. And of course, I love the Rat Pack. I love show tunes, and I love all kinds of music. And then I got into rock and roll. But I love the lounge main showroom type of performance where you come out, you as an entertainer, an individual, and converse with the audience. That's real craft. That takes years sometimes to learn that. I've played just with me, a guitar. I've played with little combos, and I've played with orchestras, and each one has its own ability to accommodate what your style is. And I've been fortunate to be able to do that.
And Irene, who did you like when you were growing up? And we're going to show this next clip. Go ahead, Irene.
Well, I also like Sammy Davis Jr. I think he was the best entertainer ever. I liked Kenny Rogers too.
Yeah.
Very different. Of course, Frank Sinatra always. I was never a big fan of Dean Martin's for some reason. I don't know why.
Why? Did he try to hit on you?
No. But I knew them pretty well. I at one time used to date Mr. Sinatra's manager, who was Jilly Rizzo. And so I used to pal around with them quite a bit. And so I got a lot of exposure and experience when I was doing that. And it was quite a time in life for me. You know, I learned a lot.
Kinda. All right, let's take a look at this, because I think everybody had, if this is the thing that I think it is, I think everybody had a piece of this art.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the world of Thomas Kinkade.
I have about 20 of his paintings.
80 paintings. Approximately 175 of his paintings.
Yeah, way too many. Art is something for everyone.
By 2000, the company was breaking 100 million. For what was being sold, that was unheard of.
250, 10,000, 250, 10,500.
People were buying not just a painting, they were buying a piece of Thomas Kinkade, which involved a performance as a pious Christian.
God bless.
I mean, he was like a holy man.
I'm not going to fall victim to the same crises that you see in so many people who get put in the public eye. That won't happen to me.
People who described him as a Jekyll and Hyde Christian painter of light by day and raging strip club attending, out of control, drunk by night.
He had it all, and he threw it away. We knew that the vault existed, but I don't remember ever going in there.
Why don't you sit here?
I'm glad he made these. Wow.
You could say Thomas Kinkade was a performance artist, and he created the greatest performance art piece in our lifetime.
All right, Howard, I'm going to go to you since you're the art collector of everything. Did you ever collect any of Kincaid's art, or that wasn't for you?
No, I had a customer that bought one over the sofa. I've always thought of it almost like Christmas cards. They're a little bit gimmicky to me, you know. And I mean, the thing about art, you want to do something creative, different, and set a new movement. His was just a little bit, like I said, 2 Christmas cards looking for me.
I wanted to know what you thought about that, because this movie comes out and almost everybody had one, and I didn't know anything about it, but it's a fascinating documentary and it's interesting. And then
they sold them in the mall at the time, so anybody could go in and get one. So I mean, they're right, they sold a lot, but a lot doesn't make them famous. The fewer they have and the more notoriety gives it more money, as far as investment goes.
Hey, Pepper, give an introduction to who you are real quick, and we're going to show this clip, all right? Actually, let's show this clip first, and then Pepper will come back to you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Rebel.
And tonight, for the Broadcasting Company Breakfast Show, Artie Shaw, king of the Clarinet Baptist Orchestra.
I think he was the #1 band in the country.
No other band was imitating him. No other band had this sound. And I fell in love with the band.
Playing one-nighters, having the screaming jitterbugs, who after all did make him. There's no doubt about that. But Artie is far too intellectual. He's far too pragmatic a man, far too serious a musician in those days.
Press resented the fact that he was telling people off. Said, I don't want to play for people that won't listen to me.
One night I remember taking a walk through Central Park with a friend of mine. And I said to her, see all those lights up there in those buildings? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, behind every one of those lights, there's a person. And someday all of those people are going to know my name.
Now, the reason I wanted to show this, Irene and Pepper and Howard, is because this won Best Feature Documentary in 1987 at the Oscars. I never saw this documentary, but it's coming back in 4K. So it's for that new audience. And when I watched it, I'm like, this is a great documentary. And I had the chance to meet him at the Beverly Hills Friars Club, and I never did because I didn't know anything about him. And I just wish I did because it's a fascinating story. Irene, did you get a chance to ever meet Artie Shaw?
I did not, but one of my vocal coaches, who's also a player like Artie, that's his hero. Yeah, his name is Michael Lyric, and he said, always watch Artie Shaw. He was such a great musician, but I never did meet him, unfortunately.
Great documentary. You know, I will send you the link for your friend if you want it. And Pepper J, we got to talk about you because you've got an interesting history that a lot of people don't know. Tell everybody who you are and what you're doing with John Michael Ferrari.
I am Pepper J. I'm a music producer, and I've been producing John Michael Ferrari and his songs for more than 35 years. And I have a couple other artists that are doing very well, including Sophie Love, Sebastian, you know Sophie, and delightful, like a bluesy rocker. And I just love making music at every level of it, from lyrics to arrangements to phraseology, and I enjoy it, and I really enjoy it. It's been a fun ride working with John Michael Ferrari because of all the awards and the radio charts, and he's humble. You could talk to him for 8 hours and not know that he's been Songwriter of the Year and Crossover Artist of the Year and Radio Artist of the Year. He just, anyway, he's humble, and it's been a real nice trip. Thanks for asking, Brian.
Well, again, it goes back to, again, the women here, minus me and Howard. If it weren't for you women, I mean, there's a lot of great things that you just don't get enough credit. And so congratulations with that. And so, Pepper, did you ever meet Artie Shaw at all?
No, I did not. But I've always been a big fan of that era. And we've enjoyed it. When some of John's songs almost look like pieces of it could come from that type of, especially the harmonies. And what a great time is all you have. Isn't that what the name of it was?
Mm-hmm.
Time is all you got. The older you get, the more you realize how important that is.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm enjoying lyrics now. Hey, Rebel, Rachel, we got one last one. Tell everybody your social media links, what you got coming up, followed by Howard, followed by Terry. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Rachel Ann Roberts. You can follow me on all social media platforms and watch me in the mornings. I have a show called Coffee Talk, Rachel Roberts Recipes. What's coming up? I have a movie at the end of the month. I'm really excited. It's a horror flick, and I know my character's good because she doesn't die at the end. Like, oh my God, I guess this is a pretty good role. So I'm excited about that.
Howard?
Howard Wiggins Facebook, and of course, Movies Review and More. I'm in a little movie called Without Warning that will be out pretty soon. And then I'm in the voice character of a book, Nigel the Rabbit by Diane Farbird. And then I plan to, come September, I'm going to make some changes, and I'm going to Probably get a book and feature my own home in the book like most designers do. So that's the plan I got for coming up that you didn't even know about.
And you should. And then for everybody, that art in the back is all his. It's all authentic. He's been collecting it since 12 or 16 years old. So he's, see, ever since. Terry Marie, tell him, give you social media links and everything.
Terry Marie Nonstop on all platforms. I'm on TikTok Shop. So watch me there. The rest of this year is gonna be a little crazy. I'm gonna surprise everybody, so just keep an eye out.
And Pepper, give any dates with John, maybe coming up, performing and everything like that.
Well, thanks, Brian. JohnMichaelFerrari.com. Appreciate you coming to visit. These are just some of the pictures that happened lately. If you go to tour, that's lovely, Irene, lovely.
Thank
Go
you.
to tour on his website, then you'll see where he's going to be. He's going to Alaska. He's doing some touring in Europe, over at Atlanta for ISA, and then over in Nashville for the Josie Awards. And I hope to see you there, Irene. That'd be great.
And Irene, you get the last word. Where can people check out your music and where you might be performing next?
Okay, so you can check out my music at IreneMichaelsMusic.com. And I'll be doing some shows for Eileen Shapiro and Jimmy Star PR, and Fire Island and some of the New York venues there, and the rave shows that are coming up pretty soon this summer.
Oh, I want to congratulate everybody from coming on, and it was all about music and art as usual, which is a good thing. So I always say this, thank you, everybody. It's not always easy putting everything together. And so have a good night tonight, a better day tomorrow. You see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours. Listen to these artists' music, support the arts, go and see them on tour. And like I said, this is Movie Reviews and More, and we will see you next week.
Bye.